Hey, Dylan, how you doing?
Doing well. How's it going?
Excellent, excellent. I appreciate you taking the time to talking with me today. As you know, I'm just a big nobody trying to be a somebody.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we are at Sig Luscher. Am I saying that right?
Well, it's actually pronounced Luscher.
Luscher.
I'm a lush.
I'm a lush.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the owner, it's his family name. He doesn't mind how you call it, how you say it. So it's all good. We get Luscher all the time.
So it's like lusher, like I'm a big lush. Got it. It makes it easy to remember. And I love the sign in the background. I think everybody can see it. I think you said that's one of the original signs, like 1880s?
Yeah, 1880s. I'm not sure the exact year. It happened to pop up, not this particular sign, but the original lithograph popped up on eBay when we were forming the company.
Wow.
And we ended up snagging it. So
that is a great sign.
And this is scanned and blown up, put up in here.
This is, and it's a great location. You're right here. I'm assuming that's the state capitol building over there. What is that?
That's actually a transportation cabinet. So
transportation cabinet for the state. Okay.
Yeah, obviously we're in the state capitol, so there's state buildings everywhere, all around us. We're right in downtown.
Right in downtown. Okay. And that was going to be the thing I kind of was going to get started with. Was going to ask you. I see that this is the oldest brewery in the state of Kentucky, 1866, which is fantastic. I love unique places. And I think I read that you guys are the 8th oldest in the country, something like that. That's very cool.
Yep. Sometimes they leave us off those lists that go viral or whatever. But but if you check the data, we're the 8th oldest in the country. And that's not continuously owned. There was a break in there. But it is still the same family, so on that list we rank 8th oldest in the country, #1 in Kentucky.
So that was 155 years old, right? And how did you get started with these guys? Did you get with the family member of the original Sig Luscher? Or tell me about how you got started or how this got started, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, Sig Luscher was the originator of the original brewery, as he said, in 1866. He died in 1891, and it just closed down and kind of went away after that, unfortunately. The transportation cabinet is actually where the original brewery used to be. So this building here is about as close as we could get to the original brewery site.
I see. I understand. Okay.
And so
yeah, you're not buying them out.
No.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually moved Sig's house and put it behind us here, but the brewery itself got torn down, unfortunately. The original beer caves, lagering caves, are back in the hill, but apparently they got backfilled with rubble during construction, so we can't really get to them, unfortunately.
Oh, so I see that there's a hill behind the building. Let's move the camera for just a second so you can kind of, I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yeah, so that's Fort Hill is what they call that.
Fort Hill, that's kind of hard to tell with okay, there we go, a little bit. Okay, so he would store the barrels in the hill, the caves in the hills behind it?
Yeah, so he blew out.
Fascinating. Oh, okay.
Yeah, dynamited some caverns back there and used as his lager caves and storage and stuff. He's also, I don't think it's in here, I think it's in the other room, he has a patent on one of the early ice machines. And so he was one of the first people in the area able to produce ice commercially. So that was another big thing that he did that kept the brewery going. And it was actually a pretty big brewery back in its day, especially, when he had the ice and the ability to transport outside the city.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, getting back to where we began. So he had that. He died in 1891, and then Tim, who is his three greats grandson, decided to open it back up. And I had just left Fall City at the time and was looking for a new gig. And somebody he knew and somebody I knew put us together, and I was the first employee, and I'm still here. So.
And how long ago was that?
Our 5th anniversary will be in December.
Ah, excellent. Fifth anniversary in December. Okay. So you were at Fall City for a long time.
Yeah, I was at Fall City for, it was about 3 years. I was the master brewer there right when they were starting to break into the craft game and trying to get away from, being not your father's Fall City, basically.
Right, yeah, that was a huge change. I remember the Fall City back in the day, and nobody wanted I'm of that age when Fall City, I'll have none of that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants any of that. But I can remember my dad and grandfather and great uncles drinking Fall City.
Right.
I think they did a great job in revitalizing that name. You were involved in it, so I'm even more impressed with your pedigree, sir.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, because I think they did a great job in kind of revitalizing that name and turning it into something like, oh, that's a respectable beer.
Yeah,
and they have several respectable beers. Their IPAs are good.
Yeah, and that was, we were kind of coming up against that attitude a lot in those days. Like, oh, Fall City, my dad used to drink that crap.
Yeah.
And we kind of had to turn the image around. I think we did a pretty good job doing that. Just to fill you in on the rest of my backstory, before that I was at Foothills in Winston-Salem, North Carolina for about a year. And before that I was with Bluegrass Brewing Company, both on the production side and the brewing side. So it's been about 13 years, mostly in Kentucky, save that 1 year in North Carolina.
Yeah, about 13 years, 13 to 14 years in brewing experience?
Yeah, on the professional side.
Oh, I just want to say we're having the signature Sig. So, here's to Sig. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, this of course is a Pilsner. It's we call it Swiss style Pilsner, which really isn't a style, but that's what we call it because it's not quite a Czech Pilsner, it's not quite a German, it's somewhere in between. We don't want it too malty or too hoppy, just something right down the middle that finishes clean and crisp.
It is clean and crisp, it is nice. It's the perfect beer for sitting out in the hot sun next to the lake or after cutting the grass or maybe sitting outside listening to some music. That's the perfect, the heat of the sun's beating down on you, this is perfect.
Yeah.
What's the ABV on this?
It's at 4.7.
4.7, perfect. Yeah, it's a fine Pilsner. It's a fine Pilsner. And is this as close to the original recipe?
Yeah, we believe so. We unfortunately don't have an original recipe. We do have actually a chemical analysis of the beer, which was pretty wild because Sig was trying to prove to everybody that he had the healthiest, cleanest beer in the country. So he had an actual chemical analysis in a lab done in the 1880s. So that was wild to read over. And then we've got some grain orders that survived. So between those two things, I was able to piece together something that was in the area of what Sig was doing.
Right. You're as close as you can get without him being here to taste it going yay or nay.
Yeah.
You'll never get that.
Yeah. And there, it was a different game in the 1880s, and only so many documents survived. So that's the best we could do.
Well, that's fascinating. I have never heard anyone, like their claim to, or one of, like, oh, this is the healthiest, cleanest beer in the country.
Yeah, he was pretty good at marketing. He would there was a party he had back in the day where he had journalists from all over the country, and he basically he was looking to get them drunk, and then he had a telegraph machine in the corner, and he'd be like, hey, why don't you tell everybody about how good this beer you're having tonight is? And so on that day, in newspapers throughout the country, there was mention of Sig Luscher Brewery and how great the beer was.
Right. As they're 8 beers deep, of course.
It's like the original drunk dial.
The guys that don't like beer or texting out there back in the day, the original texting, how great it is. This is way better than I thought it would be. Telegraph. Oh, that's cool. He sounds like the perfect kind of character for Kentucky.
Yeah, he was quite a character.
That's awesome. I noticed something. This is a question I always ask, but you guys already kind of had it on your website, which was refreshing, I guess. Like I always ask people, do you have a beer philosophy? Is there such a thing? And I think you even mentioned it on the website. Is this something like, our beer philosophy, if there is such a thing, it literally says something like that, I know what it's, but what would be, what do you think?
I was going to say, I'm not sure what the website says because I haven't looked at it in years, but for me, it's kind of combining old world beer with new world beer, and so we're taking the traditions of German brewing and also European styles, bringing it over to this country and having a little more fun with it, bringing it up to modern standards. And, like I said, playing around with it, having fun. That's the American way, is you take something old and make it new. And so that's kind of
sometimes make it better, sometimes make it new, sometimes make it unique. Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of my philosophy on this brewery. We serve mainly European style lagers, but we're not afraid to branch out a little bit. We have a Kentucky Common. We do a sour every now and then. We have some barrel aged beers. So we're not afraid to get modern, but we want it to be rooted in that old world.
Excellent. Okay, that's what I like about that is you actually you've obviously thought that through some. Like, I'm not surprising you with what is your beer philosophy. You're like you're like, oh well, actually I do have one. Because a lot of people I talk to are asked that question, they go, do I have a beer philosophy? I don't know, and they're.
Well, I don't know if that's my philosophy for all of beer as a whole, but for this brewery, that's my philosophy that I bring to the brewing and the recipe formula.
Well, I think too, though, like there is a lot to be said for like the head brewer or the brewmaster, whatever the correct term is. I know that's a thing of contention sometimes.
I don't care. You can call me whatever.
Okay. All right, Dylan. Look, like that. Sometimes that'll come through in the beers. Like that. Some people are the Noble Funk. I think like the head brewer, the owners there. The guy was a research assistant and like a real scientist. So everything is very precise, and that comes through in the beers, I think. And like other places I've been to where not so much that the beers are a little different, everyone's a little different. Every lager with the same name might be a little different, everything could be a surprise, and they like that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And
so that kind of depends on the I think the personality of the head brewer comes through sometimes.
Yeah, and like I said, my years of meeting different brewers, because brewing is an art, a mix of art and science. And so you're going to have, people who lean more towards the art and people who
I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah.
And so
the guy at Noble Funk, he's going to lean towards the science. The guys at Lemon's Mill, maybe, who are characters, are going to lean towards the we're going to give it character.
And there's some people who come into this industry with a chemistry degree or a microbiology degree, and then others who are just artsy type people who did stuff in their home brewing stuff, or maybe they came from the culinary arts and learned the science on the way. I think I'm kind of in the middle. I probably lean more towards the art side. I don't have much of a science background, but I do. I mean, you need to have that knowledge in order to be a decent brewer. So I kind of had to go back and learn that in order to move forward as a professional brewer.
Excellent. I know you mentioned it earlier. There's a building over here on the right. Looks like an older garage. The setup over here is a little small. That's in the introductory video where they do a lot of the brewing. But you're going to be moving in over there. Is that part of some of your future plans? I mean, what's the future look like? Are you looking to open new locations? You got anything coming up you want to plug? I mean,
as far as things coming up, our Oktoberfest is our biggest event of the year, and that'll be coming up October 6th or 7th, whatever that Saturday is. So that's a big one for us. As far as expansion of the brewery, we do have a 3-barrel system that we bought that we just haven't put in yet. It's going to go into that back building. There have been plans to create a bigger facility here. We've had plans to build locations off-site, some of which fell through, which is just the nature of that game.
And finding property, it's hard to get lucky to find the right place.
And then you find a place, and for whatever reason, it's not going to work. And we've been through that a lot, unfortunately. But we're always open to it, and we're hoping to expand production. And we're in distribution, but right now it's mainly in the Lexington area. So we want to start opening up, Louisville and maybe Northern Kentucky. We have a guy in West Virginia who's really excited about bringing us on.
Nice.
So we got to, crank up.
I've got an Army buddy in West Virginia.
Yeah.
I got some friends there, so that's cool. All right. I'll do what I can to help. You know, I don't know if the Army buddy, I know he's good at drinking beer. I don't know how
well, that's all we need.
Right, he's good at that. I'm not sure how good he is at making beer. I mean, he pays for it, so that might be the guy you're looking for.
You don't even have to drink; you just have to buy it.
Yes, that's right. You can give it away. Give it to the homeless. I mean, be productive. All right, and one other thing, I always try to get some kind of beer detail in. Can you add some interesting fact, detail about beer, some teaching moment? I don't know. What's how many taps do you have, and what's the difference? Okay, how about this? What's the difference between a Pilsner and a lager, or is there a difference?
Well, Pilsner is a lager. Usually when people in this country refer to a lager, they're referring to an American-style light lager or an American-style lager. Pilsner, what separates those two styles is those usually have some sort of adjunct grain like rice or corn, whereas a Pilsner is going to be 100% barley.
Oh, okay.
And barley is almost always going to be predominantly Pilsner malt.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, basically Pilsner is the older of the two categories, and when the Germans started coming over here, they just kind of called it lager because people weren't drinking lagers at that time, they were drinking ales, and so in order to kind of educate the public on it, they just called everything.
Called them all lagers.
Yeah.
Oh, so the Pilsners, they just called it a lager.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it all kind of got lumped into that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, ultimately lager is the form of yeast that ferments lager beers, including the Pilsner. So it is a broader category of beer. So you got your ales and you got your lagers, and a Pilsner just happens to be one style.
So all Pilsners are lagers, but not all lagers are Pilsners.
Exactly, yep.
Okay, all right.
So we've got on right now, I think we've got 3 lagers. We got the Pilsner, we've got a Schwarzbier, which is a lot like a Pilsner, only it has some dark malt in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's supposed to drink pretty much like the Pilsner, but with a little bit of the dark roasty notes in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a what we call our 66, after the year that we were formed, 1866, which is a wheated amber lager.
Mm-hmm.
So it's obviously amber in color, and it's got some wheat in it, and it's 6.6% alcohol, so it's going to be what they would have called a strong lager back in the day.
Right,
and,
that's a big boy lager.
Yeah. And that one's on year round, and people seem to love it. It's our, if we don't have another dark one, that one is always on, so
right.
kind of satisfies that. And yeah, we are unique in that we only have 4 taps here at the tap room. It's a small tap room, and we don't have a lot of room, but also it was intentional. Our owner didn't like going into a beer bar and seeing 40 things that he needed to choose from. He knew the area. He knew people weren't going to be looking for 7 different types of IPAs in Frankfort, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, let's just do 4 beers really good. And that's what we stuck to. So we, like I said, we always have the Pilsner on, we always have the 66 on, and then the other 2 change seasonally. You'll often see the Kentucky Common on, which is on right now. But yeah, like I said, those other 2 switch seasonally. And
so he got a little bit of that marketing from, I guess, his great grandfather. By God, I'm going to serve the community. What's going to work around here?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to preach to them my 4 best instead of 18 average beers.
Yeah, and that was
something to be said for that.
His philosophy too. It's like, let's keep it simple. Our only food we're going to have is hot dogs. We'll have a hot dog steamer. We'll steam them in beer. We'll have 4 beers. We'll have 1 shelf full of local bourbons, and that's all we have.
And that's it.
And people love it.
Right. Listen, the music will be on. We'll have a beer and a few jokes, and it'll be a good time.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I wish you were closer. I'd come more often, but I will be back.
Yeah, we're not that far.
Yeah, you're not that far, right? Yeah, but I will be back, I promise. Well, do you have anything else you want to add? Any stories about starting a place? Any challenges you want to tell us about? Anything that makes you even more unique than you are? Because I think one thing that makes you unique is that your goal is to kind of keep it small to fit the community. Mm-hmm. Most places I've been, they're purposely 18 taps and a
Yeah.
kitchen and a huge area for 40 people and booths and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know, but you are obviously different than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing I would bring up is that we have a barrel-aged series that doesn't go on tap. It's about a bottle only, so some people are looking for something a little more unique than a German-style lager. We have those available, and we're only a mile down the road from Buffalo Trace, and we actually have a family history with them. Sig used to sell E.H. Taylor yeast back in the 1800s or whatever. And so we have that bill of sale on the wall as well, and we've maintained that relationship. And so almost exclusively all of our bourbon is going to come from them, and exclusively all of our barrel beers are going to come from them. And they've been very kind with giving up some very quality barrels for us to use in that barrel collection. So that is one thing that is unique to us, and that, you know, I'm sure Sig wasn't probably barrel aging beers back in the day.
Yeah.
But we like.
He was blasting holes in hills, but he was too busy with dynamite.
Right. So that's one thing that we have fun with, and people seem to enjoy. You know, and does go, like I said, above and beyond those 4 taps for you know, either tourists or your more adventurous drinkers who just want to try something a little different.
Excellent, man. Well, you've been very patient with me. I love the place you've got here, man. I'm hoping we can have a beer, talk a little bit more. But hey, we'll get a refill, and cheers, and thank you, Dylan.
Cheers.